Well, welcome back. As far as what exactly led to this catastrophic air tragedy, which claimed the lives of over 260 people, not just the people and passengers who were on board, but the people inside the buildings where this plane crashed. This has been the preliminary report that is now out, the findings by the AAIB, exactly what could have led to this crash a month exactly after the June 12th tragedy. Let's put that out in perspective, because what happened in those few seconds, we are going to focus on that mainly. The focus, the report that also gives a reference to the 2018 warning issued by the Federal Aviation Administration, but what really happened in those 232 seconds is something that we are going to highlight. 6 seconds before takeoff, the timestamps that have also been given according to the UTC there, 1:38:33, that is 1 p.m. 38 minutes 33 seconds p.m. IST was the time of the takeoff. It crosses the takeoff decision speed V1 and achieves 153 knots, and that is at the time when it comes to the aircraft that sensors transition to air mode after liftoff. Everything seems to be fine by here, but then the aircraft then achieves maximum recorded airspeed of 180 knots that is required for the liftoff, that is required for the takeoff, and that is where we are looking at the runway almost ending, and there immediately both engines fuel switches transition to cut off. This is where the pilots realized that there is something wrong, and that time was 1:38:47, and both engines RPM passed below the minimum idle speed, so that means the engines weren't required getting the required fuel so that they can continue with their flight, with their takeoff. The engine 1 fuel switch transition from cutoff to run, and this is where the pilots have been hurriedly trying to revive the engines. They were trying to put on run back again so that the fuel supply could continue. Engine 2 fuel switch also transitions from cutoff to run, and we are looking at the matter of seconds really, with the timestamps that you can see, that almost a minute later, 1:39:05, one of the pilots then transmit to the ATC, Mayday, Mayday, Mayday. That is the rare and emergency call that is made 3 times, and that is where what is being said, that it all went silent. There was no communication or contact with the aircraft, and seconds later we are looking at the aircraft then crashing into the buildings below.
All
the
right,
flight data recorder abruptly then concludes. Well, Madhav, this is now putting out the highlights of the report.
Absolutely, and in fact, let's quickly take this across to our reporters as well who are with us, and in fact our guests who are with us as well. We have in fact Mr. M.R. Shivaraman. Mr. M.R. Shivaraman, I'd like you to come in on this entire aspect of what was the advisory given in the year 2018. As somebody who's been the DGCA, how much importance should we give this? Because this particular advisory happened to be for the 737, but it's the same fuel switch aspect that is also relevant for the 787, and those fuel switches have been repeated on 2 occasions in this particular aircraft in 2019 and 2023. Given the fact that the fuel switches are really key to unraveling what has happened, how much importance would you give to the SAIB that was issued earlier in 2018?
First of all, there is a little difference between something being advisory and mandatory in regard to an aircraft which takes 200, 300 passengers at 35,000 feet altitude and flies. Every advisory should be taken as mandatory. Secondly, the person who gives an advisory, you should also know that what advisory he is giving in respect to what instrument. This is in regard to fuel cutoff switch, which can throttle the working of the entire aircraft. I'm amazed that something so serious is being given as an advisory. Even if it had been given as an advisory, any aircraft maintenance engineer or the chief engineer in the hangar where these aircraft are maintained will take it very seriously and will attend to it every time he certifies the aircraft before it takes off. The third point I want to mention here is that these switches are operated manually. There is no software attached to this switch, excepting that the operations of the switch are shutting off and turning it on is linked to the DFDR, through which we would know whether the switches are on or off. So therefore, this is a very important thing. Why the FAA issued it, or a Boeing company issued it only as an advisory on such an important matter. The second point is my earnest request to you as one of the leading dailies and leading channels of this country, or probably of the world. Please ask your reporter not to make his imagination run wild, saying a third person was present and was responsible for this accident. Please don't ask him to do this.
Well,
Right.
sir, to be fair to him, it was one of our earlier panelists who was in fact the CEO of an international airline who actually propounded that theory. But point well taken. Thank you so much for making that point. But yes, Amita, several questions that still remain. And this is a preliminary report. It's not a conclusive final report. That's really the crux of what is coming out of this, that there are a set of facts that have been presented by the AAIB that is mandatory under the ICAO Annex 13, and they've actually put that out within 30 days. But the truth of the matter, the final recommendations and findings will only come out perhaps in a period of about 3 months, as the government has indicated earlier. Amita.
Absolutely. And Dr. Singh, what is your, concern over that? As far as the final report is concerned, remains to be seen when that comes out. But do you believe that accountability will be fixed and needs to be fixed?
Well, thank you for making that important point. First of all, I'm in total agreement with Sir, like what we both have said, that how can such a thing be just, an advisory? This is mandatory. It should have been taken very seriously, and it should have been followed up. 2 is the criminal investigation angle, and 3rd is when you're, asking this particular question, I believe the full report will be made public under the current Prime Minister. I do not think anything is going to go just like that or go under the carpet. I expect it to come out, and I do believe that the full report will be made public. This will be systematically analyzed, investigation, the dots will be properly joined. As I said, was it a FADIC mandated, error? Was it a miscommand? Were there faulty sensors? Or what was it all about? Was it an electrical software malfunction? What was the glitch? I think all of it is going to come out. It's not going to go under the carpet. And whoever is responsible, whichever stakeholder in this case, has to be taken to court.
All right. Dr. Vandana Singh, as well as Mr. M.R. Shivaraman, I'd like to thank you for joining us and giving us your expert analysis on this preliminary report of the AAIB. In fact, it's a report that many would believe throws up more questions than giving us answers, but several theories have been ruled out. The bird hit theory, the theory of fuel contamination, the theory of, the angle of the flaps being wrong, all of those theories for the moment, or even the aircraft being overweight for the moment, have been put to rest. But what happened inside the cockpit, that's still a bit of a whodunit. We're going to analyze this. We're going to be getting you the latest reactions and updates right through the day today. Do join us on the other side of this very short break.